Wicked, we're going to jump into the opening scene. I felt there was two things that are really important in the opening scene. You had to set up the musical, obviously, but the underlying emotional resonance also was very important, and especially when Galinda burned, an
effigy. Yep.
Yeah. So, what was your process when you were shooting? They trying to capture. You have to establish the fun of the musical, of course, but also the grounded emotionality.
The opening number has always been a challenging scene because this was my third musical in a row, fourth if you, it's two parts. But it's a challenging opening number because it is not like most opening numbers, right? Where you introduce all the characters and you bring them right into that kind of world. This is really a prologue, and an epilogue. If you've seen the stage show, it's bookended by Munchkinland of Glinda in Munchkinland. So No One Mourns the Wicked is just really tricky. It's a very sad song, and it's very confusing, and you have to give the audience so much information, and if they don't know The Wizard of Oz, it's even more confusing. And so there are all these pieces that you really need to understand very quickly, and there's that emotional moment with the burning effigy, but what is this effigy? Who is this person that she's lighting a torch? And you don't know all of that. And some of it was found in editing in terms of doing the flashbacks, or the flashbacks between the women. But the flashbacks to her, to introducing Elphaba as her younger, as young Elphaba, was always there, and introducing the bullying. So it's just a lot of information to capture really quickly. Plus, you also want to feel like immersive, and you're in this world of Oz, and the colorful tulips, and the yellow brick road, and this pink bubble. And so we're introducing iconography that many people know through The Wizard of Oz, and so there's layer upon layer, and it's really tricky to figure out how to tell that story. And then you add choreography in, which there's the musical, the stage show doesn't have that much dancing in it, but I mean, we just were next door watching that opening number, and there's this high angle shot that I always forget about, but we had the camera up on a descender rig way up high, doing this bird's eye shot, and you see the shadows of these dancers, and it's going around the effigy. You see the shadows on the floor of the yellow brick road, and I think it's just this really powerful moment in the whole piece.
Yeah. Now, one of the funnest sequences was Dancing Through Life, but it must have also been a challenge. You've got moving staircases. You've got Jonathan Bailey, who has to land on a book while singing, so he stays in focus. What went into creating that wonderful sequence?
That was so we brought our Steadicam operator on 10 weeks for 10 weeks of prep. I had 18, and he came on around 10 weeks because I wanted him to start learning the choreography. And Dancing Through Life was our first big number we did. And it was in January. We started right before Christmas, and then we broke for Christmas, and then this was really our first thing up after Christmas. And it was it was very well planned out in terms of how we were moving the Steadicam through that space. We also used the Unreal Engine to pre-visualize that space a little bit and light that space because it was our first setup. We didn't have a lot of time in the space before we started shooting. And John Chu's wife had a baby on one of the days, so he also wasn't on set. So Chris Scott and I had to take over directing, our choreographer. So it was Jonathan Bailey's first day on set too, I think. I mean, it was a lot going on for us, but it's one of my favorite numbers, and I love his charisma. I love that set, and I love the way we captured it, and the flowing camera, and the movement, and introducing the way we introduce Fiyero and Glinda as becoming a unit as we circle around them.
Yeah. I did talk to John Chu and Dana Fox and Wendy Holzman. They all landed on the ballroom scene as they felt the scene that really, if you didn't get it right, the movie does kind of fall apart. What were the challenges? Because there's so much going on there. It starts off fun, then Elphaba is again shunned, but then reconciled. What went through the process of creating so many different tones and moods within that one critical sequence?
During prep, John and I discussed that the Osdas Ballroom was the heart of the movie. That we live in this huge epic world of Oz, but really the story is about these two friends. And he asked me during prep what my goal for the movie was, and I said it would be the greatest love story ever told between these two women, these two best friends, and this is where they fall in love with each other. And so you do have to get it right. And it's the closest to anything that I have shot that is as close to live theater as possible. We had, John wanted to shoot long interrupted takes, and he wanted to shoot Elphaba's close-up first because he wanted her to walk in to the Osdas Ballroom for the first time without a rehearsal and come in and feel everyone laughing at her and pointing at her, and what does it feel like to be looked at, and her feel that raw emotion. And so we're spinning around her in this 8-minute long Steadicam shot, and it was choreography between lighting. We had 500 live lighting cues, and focus, because the focus puller didn't have a rehearsal, and the camera's constantly moving, and we're wide open on our lens. It's a very shallow depth of field, and our focus puller Lewis doesn't pull off the monitor. He pulls right next to camera, and so he's spinning around while Steadicam's going around 360 degrees, never losing balance and never getting dizzy as we're going. And then Karsten feeling what the performance is, because we'd only seen one dance rehearsal months before. We had never, and we had recorded it on our iPhones, and so we could watch it and understand. But then you do it live, and things change. And Karsten had to understand what that emotion was, the storytelling of what we wanted to do. And there are pauses, and when there's pauses, he needed to know when to stop, and he needed to know when to push in. And that 360 ends in Elphaba crying and Ariana wiping the tear from her face. And in the stage show, she never cries. In the script, Elphaba never cries. And it just happened, right? She felt all that emotion. Cynthiaerivo felt all the emotion of that scene, and that moment happened. And that is the heart. That is the heart of the movie. It is these two women becoming friends.
Ariana and Cynthia's that shot where they reconcile is my favorite shot of the film because it carries I think it really carries the movie. All right, so then obviously the end scene, a lot going on too because they're fighting.
Yes.
This all starts with a fighting, but then again reconciling where they connect. What was your thought process? Tonally, there was a lot of shifts, a lot of things going on in that final tower scene.
Yeah, so Defying Gravity, this is their big breakup, right? They don't know if they will ever see each other again, and Elphaba invites her to go on this journey with her, and Glinda doesn't have the courage to do it. And Elphaba has to find her power alone. She has to take that leap of faith and know she can fly, and she doesn't have her best friend with her anymore. And it's sad and tragic, and that scene is 3 sets. We had the lower attic where they walk in from the balloon chase, where they're fighting, and then they go up the stairs, and the set went all the way up to the ceiling. And as they walk up these rickety stairs to the upper attic, and the upper attic is the second set, and then we had a third set, which is part of the interior and the balcony for the flying, and we shot this over the course of many months, and in order, but still to keep track and know what you're building towards is always a challenge.
That last moment together where they break up, but they love each other and they understand why they can't be together. I thought it was the best captured moment, one of the best captured moments for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the unspoken, right? And so finding, I have always said this movie is about their close-ups, and we did months and months and months of testing just close-ups because, and each one looks different on different lenses, and how do they connect? And we break the fourth wall all the time where they look right in the lens at each other. But those close-ups where the sun is setting and they're standing in the window, and we did that's a 360-degree shot. There's many 360-degree shots. That's part of our camera language throughout Wicked. And that moment where they just look at each other and that's it.
So you recommend for all the cinematographers always cast Cynthia and Ariana together for whatever movie you want to do in the future?
Yes, and also that they're just the most wonderful, delightful human beings on the planet. And like making Wicked was the best because it was like making a student film on a massive, massive scale where everyone was there and so passionate about what they were doing, and the crew. It was this beautiful, beautiful, cohesive, wonderful, collaborative world that we got to
And
live
the
in.
shoot was about 180 days? if I don't mistake?
155.
55. That's a rare thing where you get to bond with your cast and crew for so long.
Well, we all move, right? You all move your lives to London. We were, all the Americans moved their lives to London. And so you're suddenly have uprooted your life and you know you're making a special movie, but you're not in the rhythm of your traditional life. And I moved my whole family to London, and John Chu moved his whole family to London, and then we're making this movie, and our entire focus for that 12 months was just the film.